This conference will now be recorded.
So now if you have any questions, please go ahead.
Hi, Francis.
Hi, Stephanie.
How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good. I have a question regarding the conversation we had a week ago. I asked you how I could deepen in the understanding that I'm not the body, given the fear I have. And at some moment in your response, you said to allow my mind to investigate into it. And then I
I'm not
spent
sure
the whole...
that I said that in those terms, but yes, when the question arises, allow for the question to follow its course.
What does that mean?
It means that don't force yourself to think about it, and don't deny yourself the opportunity to think about it when the interest about it arises.
Like
In
let
other
it
words, the investigation has to be pursued only out of interest for the question, not with an ulterior motive. Not, for instance, well, if you say, okay, my problem right now is I have a problem with relationships, or that I have problem with money, or that I have problem with my work, or that I have problem with my health. Just to cite a few usual suspects, right? Now, and just to mention, to list a few of the usual suspects. Now, if you believe that through pursuing this investigation, you will resolve one of those issues, and that the reason why you are pursuing this investigation is the ulterior resolution of those issues, you are mistaken. It should come out of sheer interest for the issue itself, not with an ulterior motive. Oh, if I do this, then I get that for myself. No, it starts by the investigation. Who is the myself I am talking about, who is supposed to get some benefit from doing this or that? So it should be, well, I believe to be this human being, I believe to be this woman. Francis says perhaps it's not the case. What does he mean? You see, it should arise out of a real question. Now, how do you know that you have a real question? That's very simple. Do you have doubts about being a woman?
No.
Then you have a problem on your hands.
It's like, correct me if I'm wrong, but what I hear from you is that the question, it really comes out of creativity and spontaneity and lightness.
Yes, that's true, but these are words. Let me try to be more specific about it. You say, I ask you, do you believe to be a woman? You say yes.
Yes.
Okay. So, as I speak now, you believe that I am speaking to a woman.
Yes.
Whereas, in fact, from my side, I'm speaking to whatever that is which understands my words and hears them. And I have no evidence that that which understands my words and hears them is a woman. Because on my side, that which perceives my thoughts and my manhood, if you will, and my humanhood, I have no evidence that it is a man. I have no evidence that that which perceives my male body is a man. Because I have no evidence that that which perceives my body is a body. I have no evidence that awareness is a body.
Yes.
And only the body is male or female or human.
Yes.
So, since I have no evidence that that which perceives my body is a body, and since I say I am the one who perceives this male body called Francis, I have no evidence that I, as the perceiver of this male body, that I am male, female, or human.
Yes.
Therefore, it may be the case, but I have doubts. At least I have doubts. You see what I mean?
Yes.
Just a first examination of the issue, well, creates doubts. I'm not sure that consciousness is part of this body. What I am sure of, however, is that this body, as an experience, is part of my consciousness. But not the other way around, you see? Because why? Why am I saying that? Because my body, I perceived it through bodily sensations, and also I can see it, I can touch it. So also through the external senses. So my body is part of my experience. But it is not all there is to my experience, since I am also perceiving the world out there. I am hearing your voice as I speak with you. So the world, your voice, is not my body, my human body. So there is more to my consciousness, if you will, than my human body.
Yes.
So my direct experience is consciousness. Consciousness of the world, consciousness of your voice, consciousness of my human body.
Yes.
My first experience is not my body experiencing consciousness as secondary.
Yes.
The buck starts with consciousness. Everything starts with consciousness, not with the body.
Yes.
And everything starts with me. You see, so then, if you have understood yes, saying yes to what I have said, and then if I ask yourself the same question again, are you certain to be a woman?
No.
Right. Okay, so then the moment we have this uncertainty about what we are, something has happened to us, something very important. It may not seem important in the beginning, but it is very important. Because then that, as a result of that, new questions arise. Because when I knew or believed to know I am a woman or I am a man, well, what I was, I knew a lot of things about it. I knew a lot of things about me. I knew my size, my date of birth, my personal history, my preferences, my dislikes, right?
Yes.
My medical history, all of that. I knew a lot of things. I didn't know everything, of course, but I knew a lot of things. That's true if I am this body-mind, this male or female body-mind. But if I am consciousness, what do I know about myself? Very different situation.
Yes.
So it opens up a new can, I'm not going to say of worms. It opens up a new can of candy. And then, as a result, I want to know. You know, and it is that which I call the genuine interest or the authentic interest, which is created the moment I doubt to be this human body, and as a result, I kind of want to know. Because then a lot of questions arise, such as, now that I know that I'm consciousness rather than the body, how do I know that consciousness is dependent upon the body? In other words, how do I know that the consciousness didn't exist before the body was conceived, for instance? Because that's a very interesting question. You know, if consciousness existed before the body was conceived, which one, and assuming that consciousness is dependent upon the body, which one of the two cells, the egg and the spermatozoid, was carrying consciousness? If none of them was carrying consciousness, and consciousness all of a sudden came into existence at the moment when they fuse, when they merge together, these two cells, where did consciousness came out of? Out of the hat of the magician all of a sudden? But if consciousness existed before, if each of the two cells were endowed by consciousness or with consciousness, before that, when the two partners were separate and one was in New York and the other in Los Angeles, up until they met somewhere in Miami on vacation and had intercourse, and okay, so before they were one in New York, the other one in LA, where was consciousness? In New York, in LA, or somewhere in between in the heartland of America? So it begs all kinds of questions, you know, interesting. I'm just giving you all that junk. It's food for thought. You know, but then all these questions, Now, where is consciousness localized, if it is? When did it begin? At conception, before, at birth, in between, after birth? When will it going to end? You know, how am I so sure that it is dependent upon the body? What is the evidence? You know, it, as I said, it opens up a new series of interesting questions.
Yes.
You know, and the important word there is not questions, is interesting. You know, if you are interested, and that's when, following this interest that arises out of the doubts about consciousness, is creative doubt and the questions, not because I want something for myself as a person.
It's impersonal.
But because I am asking the question, what am I really? I'm not interested about myself as a person. I'm interested in truly knowing what is this consciousness, which I call I. And I'm not denying, in so doing, the existence of this female or male body. No.
Yes, yes.
I'm not denying any of them. No. But I am wondering about the relationship between this male or female body and this I call consciousness. Because I thought before, case closed, you know, case closed. But now we are reopening the investigation, you know.
It's curious for me because I feel like since I'm in contact with you through your videos on YouTube, like I've started to have some questions arising, but mostly up until now, my curiosity was more around like the sense of being, like when I know when I don't feel like I'm being and when I am being. It's more like I didn't have questions. It was more like a sense of being and flow, and how to like how to click more into that. And so it's different for me to be to like through you. It's like you're like awakening questions in me. So that's why I was curious, because it's just new and different for me.
Yes, obviously, if we are free from worries and from fear, our experience of the body and of the mind and of the world changes as a result. Now, there are two ways we can be free from worries and from fear. We can be free from worries and from fear provisionally, or we can be free absolutely, meaning in a very final way. If we are free only provisionally and conditionally, if you will, it's not real freedom. So something, in spite of the fact that our body and our mind can temporarily relax, it will be relaxing into a state which has a beginning and which is going to end.
Yes.
And because there will be lingering worries, lingering questions. So it would be like a symptomatic treatment and not a cure. So here we are, what we are aiming at is the real cure, and the path towards it is the investigation.
The investigation through these questions?
Yes, and especially, yeah, because, and especially this, it hinges upon one central question. Now that I know that I am awareness, that before I am a body, before I am a woman or a man, I am this awareness. And this awareness is real. Now, the next question is this awareness dependent upon the body?
Mm-hmm.
You know, and what is the, because I believe that it is dependent upon the body, but I believe that the body and the awareness are one, but that the awareness is simply an attribute of the human body. And the next step of the investigation is, how do I know that? What is the evidence? And the investigation will show step by step, bit by bit, that all the evidence we believe to have that awareness is dependent upon the body is not valid, is not valid. So step by step, piece of evidence after piece of evidence, the belief that awareness is dependent upon the body or the mind is going to get invalidated, dissolved. That's the next step. And then we reach an absolute certainty that we don't know that we are a separate and limited awareness. The next step after that is twofold. We can continue this investigation by understanding that the conclusions we have reached so far regarding the nature of awareness were not intellectual. In other words, they were not conceptual, they could be expressed with concepts. But these conclusions that could be expressed with words were the result of an experience of awareness itself.
Yes.
And therefore that our investigation was not merely conceptual, but that it was actually experiential.
Yes. Yes.
And so that awareness is an experience which is open to us from moment to moment. Because it is that which we are from moment to moment. And as a result of that, to eliminate from our life in all its aspects any feelings, thoughts, perception, desire, fear, etc., that would be derived from the belief that awareness is limited. And see what happens. Not replacing the awareness, the belief that awareness is limited by the belief that it is unlimited. No.
Yeah.
Just allowing for awareness to be whatever it is. Unknowable by the mind. Beyond all qualifications such as limited or unlimited or whatever. Just being whatever it is. And live our life from this perspective.
That search of fine-tuning myself with flow and ease isn't relevant within these questions.
The flow and ease comes as a bonus because the flow and ease flows from the experience of awareness, knowing itself. The flow and ease and the happiness is nothing else than the experience of awareness knowing itself. The flow and ease is simply the result of the elimination of the burden. The burden of being a human being.
The burden of believing I'm a human being.
Yeah.
But for example, if feelings and sensations come up, then I can just feel them, right?
Yes, but there are no feelings. There are only bodily sensations and thoughts.
Feelings are bodily sensations.
Or thoughts for you to decide, for you to see, to investigate, to contemplate, and to make this determination of what they are.
Yes.
When we use the word feeling, what it tells me is twilight zone, unexplored part of your experience.
And feeling identified with it as well, right?
When you see a feeling, you can always determine, is it a thought, an image in my mind? Or is it a bodily sensation localized somewhere in my body or permeating various organs of my body?
Yes.
Or is it a mix of these, like being ping pong between an image that is frightening, for instance, and the subsequent feeling of fear in my body, which is a preparation by the body to face the dangers that I've been imagining in my mind.
I think I'm gonna listen to our conversation a few times in the YouTube link, Francis.
It's very sweet.
Hi, Francis.
Thank you so much for your
You're welcome,
support.
Stephanie.
Hi, Francis.
Hi, Rashmi.
Hi. I wondered if you could help me with this mantra from the Isha Upanishad. it really resonates with me, almost haunts me. Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate. The translation is that is whole.
This is emptiness, yes. The whole is, and you take away the whole from the whole and the whole remains, right? Something like that.
Yeah, that is whole, this is whole. From the whole, this whole came. From that whole, this whole removed. What remains is whole. Does this mean everything is consciousness, or is there a more nuanced meaning that you can expound on?
It means everything is Brahman. Everything is the same reality. Then obviously consciousness is real. We cannot make it up. We cannot deny that there is perceiving in this moment. Now, if there is only one reality, consciousness has to be this reality. Consciousness as the reality which is hearing these words right now. And because there is only one reality, it is shared by all. So we all share the same consciousness, or Atman, if you will. There is only one Atman. I hope the word Atman has no plural in Sanskrit. I don't know that, but I hope it doesn't. There is only one Atman, and this Atman is Brahman. There is only one reality. The reality that perceives is the reality that is perceived. The reality that perceives and the reality that is perceived are one. So that's the reality in you, your Atman and my Atman are one. That's the way to say hi in India, which is very beautiful. Yeah.
Thank you, Francis.
Hi, Francis. It's Paul. Have you had a chance to look at the pair research I had mentioned last week?
Briefly, someone, and it seems that from a scientific vantage point, it's completely bogus.
Oh, really?
So, yeah.
Oh, interesting. Was it something, one particular aspect that stood out to come to that conclusion, or?
Yeah, I looked it up. Most of the, you know how science works, is there are peer reviews.
Yeah.
And all the peer reviews are very, very. But the most important aspect of it is that other labs have tried to reproduce the experiment, and it doesn't work. So that's a no-no in science, right? So reproducibility of an experiment is very important.
Huh.
There were other elements to it. And besides, I'm not really interested because that's New Age stuff, as you know. I'm not a fan of New Age stuff. It has to do with the ability of the mind to act on matter.
Yeah, I understand.
Okay, that's New Age stuff. Let's stop this conversation right now.
Yeah, because if I had said to you, Francis, I had a dream last night, and the dream was that there was this Princeton department that did these experiments and so on and so forth, and I woke up from the dream, it would be, so what? Like, it's only because I think of it as outside of a dream in some sense that it becomes a mind game. If that makes any sense, I don't know.
No, I was interested as
Yeah, intellectual. What is this about? Yeah.
no, from the vantage point of physics, because
Yeah.
I thought it was. I thought when you mentioned that to me that it was some kind of quantum mechanics experiment, because there are
Yeah.
things in quantum mechanics in which, because of the interference between the observer and the observed in quantum
Yeah.
mechanics,
Yeah.
there is a possibility of experiment that look like
Yeah.
a decision made by the physicist has an impact on the
The outcome.
outcome of the
Yeah.
measurement. So there are weird things in the quantum world, you know. So I was
Yes.
interested just from that vantage point, not from the vantage point of truth and of reality we talk
Yeah.
about here.
Yeah.
I,
Yeah.
I do my best to stay away from anything new agey,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
because it's a catastrophe. As a result, I lose a lot of customers here because,
Right.
because
Right.
a lot of people who are interested in truth are also very much attached
It's
to
yeah.
new agey beliefs, and so
Yeah.
that if I don't share their new agey belief or their political beliefs or religious belief or whatever belief,
Yeah.
the conclusion is he doesn't share my belief. Therefore, what he says about the truth is bogus.
Right.
And in fact, I try to precisely whatever I say about the truth to separate it from anything religious, from any form of belief system, from
Yeah.
anything political, from anything that has to do with other realms which are not the focus of our interest here.
Yeah. Yeah.
Only the truth. You know, you have to separate the truth from everything
Mhm.
which are adjuncts. Like you have to take the diamond out of
Coal.
I don't know, the what?
The coal.
What is
Coal.
the
I don't
English?
know. I don't know.
Yeah, the core, whatever you call it in English, that prevents it from
Right.
shining.
Yeah. Yeah. I have a question about. Um, you often speak about coming to this place of not knowing. And I always take that as meaning that you're only talking about phenomenally, not knowing. But in terms of noumenal, is that how you say it? Noumenal understanding. I think to myself, well, I can I can only find awareness. I can't find anything else in the universe or a universe. I only find awareness. And I can't find a border in this awareness. So to me, that doesn't leave me with a sense of neutrality or not knowing. Is what you talk about when you talk about not knowing 50-50 and so on, that's just kind of a phenomenal,
Oh,
not
no,
experiential.
no, 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 no.
Where am I lost here? Where am I lost?
Okay. The absolute certainty is that there is awareness.
Yes.
That there is no, it's not not even a 99.99% probability.
But how
It's
about
total.
that? That's the only thing you can find is awareness. Isn't that 100% too?
The other 100%
Yeah.
is that there is reality. In other words, that there is something rather than nothing.
So you don't agree with that? I mean, what else can you find other than awareness?
There is something rather than nothing. Would you agree with that?
Yes.
Okay? And this something rather than nothing, I call it, and this something, we don't know what that is, right?
Okay.
Like I perceive mountains, right?
Yeah.
That's something rather than nothing.
Yeah.
Okay? So the next question that arises is, on one hand, there is awareness.
Hmm.
On the other hand, there is a perception of the mountains.
But that's just a thought, an overlay thought.
What, the perception of the mountains?
No, the concept, the mountain, I don't know.
The concept of the mountain is not the mountain,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
The perception of the mountain is not the reality that perceives the mountain.
Hmm. But when you look at the mountain, if you don't have the concepts, all you have is knowing.
Yes.
So that's all you find.
No, I am not saying that there is no uncertainty as to awareness.
Okay.
Okay? Awareness
Yes.
is certain.
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay?
Yes.
But what about the universe? In the case in point, the mountain.
Well, there's just knowing, but if I want to make up a story that there's an image and that there's scientific research about it, and
No, that's not the point. Can you prove that there is not a reality out there? Can you prove?
no, I can't.
Okay? Because, and that's interesting because that's precisely the point I am making in the comment that I have put in the beginning here.
Okay.
To everywhere. That the point is this: if you claim that awareness is certain,
Yeah.
beyond the shadow of a doubt, yes. Now, if you claim that there is nothing else than perceiving, that's a different story.
Yeah.
Because then you limit reality to its perceiving aspect, if you will.
But you're not differentiating between perceiving and awareness. Aren't they two
I
different
am
things?
different. I'm not, it's like I'm differentiating between the perceiving function of reality
Yeah.
and reality.
Oh. Wow. I can't quite. Okay. I will have to contemplate that because, I mean, when you say it, I go, aha, but then when you say
that's
that, I
why
go,
my definition of awareness
yeah,
is
yeah,
the reality that is perceiving these words right now.
yeah.
I'm not saying awareness is the perceiving of these words.
Okay.
The perceiving of these words, if you will, is an appearance in awareness. So the perceiving of these words, if we look at it as a function of something, is a function of mind. or if you prefer, the perceiving of the words is mind. The reality that perceives the word is awareness. That's why I define awareness in terms of reality.
Yeah.
It's very important because too often it is assumed that non-duality implies idealism. Idealism is this philosophical position, according to, like Bishop Berkeley, according to
Yeah.
which the universe out there
Yeah.
exists only in a perception in my mind. Okay? In other words, I cannot prove that there is a universe out there.
Right.
But in this comment that I published here on the chat window, I make the following point, that if we make the argument that because the world out there appears to me only through perceptions, therefore it is inexistent. If we follow the same logic, what about other minds? Like right now, you are talking to Francis.
Yeah.
How do you know that Francis exists independently from your mind?
I have no evidence.
No more evidence than the mountain exists independently from your mind. Right?
Yeah, but like,
Okay.
if I look at it, if I look at you, okay, go
Let's
ahead.
stick to that. Let's stick to that. Compare
Okay.
Francis and the mountain.
Okay.
What more evidence you have that Francis exists independently from your mind? Do you have more evidence than you have about the mountain existing independently from your mind?
Both are zero.
Zero, exactly. So then, what are you talking? Why are you talking to me if I don't exist independently from your mind?
When I look at you, I can see you as a person. I can also notice that it's only seeing and love. Um, I'm only aware of seeing, and the seeing feels like an overlay of thought. So removing that, I'm just left with awareness or love. So you could maybe
What's different between that and the mountain?
it's just both awareness.
Yeah, so you are not answering my question. What makes you, no, you have actually, you have acknowledged that you have no more evidence
Zero, right.
that Francis exists independently from your perceiving
Yeah,
of Francis, other than no more evidence than the fact that the mountain exists independently
yeah,
from Francis. But I can assure you that I
yeah.
exist independently from your mind.
Yeah,
I exist independently from your mind. In other words, your mind is not all there is to exist, and I can assure you of that, but of course you cannot be certain. In other words, the problem is when people make the claim that on the one hand, the world doesn't exist independently from mind, but that other minds exist. That's a problem. Because
Okay.
they have no more evidence that other minds exist,
Yeah.
right? We have exactly the same amount of evidence that mountains exist as we have that other minds exist.
Well, I say yeah, but I don't actually understand. I feel my mind is disappointed that I'm not getting what you're saying. But
What I
since
am
John,
saying,
yeah, gives the recording, since John will give the recording, I'll replay it a few times and hopefully I'll understand it better.
what I'm saying is simply this: if we
Yeah,
make the claim
yeah,
that we know that the world doesn't exist out there,
yeah.
but that we know that other minds exist, we are
No,
making
I didn't make that claim, did I?
no. But I'm not.
Okay.
If we make this claim,
Yeah,
we are making a bogus claim,
yeah, I agree with that.
right? Right. Okay.
Experientially, yeah.
Yeah. But that's what most people say, because if we make the claim
Hmm.
that the world doesn't exist independently from mind,
Yeah,
that we know for certain that,
yeah,
it would follow that other minds don't exist according to the same logic.
yeah.
And therefore, the people who make this claim should shut up. Because, not because I want to be rude towards them, but because it doesn't make sense to talk to someone you know is non-existent,
Yeah. But are
right?
but Francis, are you saying that my original statement that I cannot find anything else other than awareness, are you saying that is an idealist point of view or a consciousness only point of view?
No, the idealist point of view is that everything is that the true nature of the mountain
Hmm.
is the perception of the mountain in a human mind or in a
No,
mind.
but I didn't say that, right? You know that I
No,
didn't say
I
that.
didn't.
Okay.
I
Okay.
didn't imply. I didn't
Okay.
imply that you said that, but it
Okay.
gave me the opportunity
Yeah. Yeah.
to. So what is then? Because what is important is to make a distinction between awareness, as I define it,
Yeah.
which is the reality that perceives,
Yeah.
and we are certain that awareness is real.
Yeah.
And then understanding that there is only one reality,
Because I can't find any borders.
then the fact that you cannot find any borders is simply keeps open the possibility
Hmm.
that awareness is universal.
Oh, because I can't find my car keys, it doesn't mean my car keys aren't somewhere in the house.
Exactly.
Okay.
The same logic. Yes, exactly. So, but what it does, it opens up the possibility that awareness,
Hmm.
defined as the reality which is hearing these words right now,
Yeah.
is also the reality that creates the mountains.
Yeah.
But the possibility that the mountains exist in some form
Hmm.
without being perceived by minds
Yes.
cannot be excluded. That's the point.
Yes.
It's in other words, idealism is a form of religion. By religion, I mean something which is based upon a belief which
Yeah.
is not verified by experience.
Yeah. Yeah.
In the same way, the other way around, what is called in philosophy realism, which is, yes, the universe
Physical.
exists
Physical. Yeah.
independently from mind.
Yeah.
This too is a form of religion.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
This too is a form of belief. So what I'm trying to do is to show that both these views are just views that are based upon beliefs that are not validated by experience, and therefore
Yes.
that we should refrain from choosing
Yeah.
between these two, because the reality could be either of those or could be something different, utterly different, both of those, none of those, whatever.
Okay.
In other words, it's undecided and undecidable, or whatever you call it. And
Even
so
numerally.
we have to be purely agnostic, which in fact purifies the landscape. It cleans up the landscape, you see, because we
Yeah.
remain with reality alone and consciousness alone. Reality is consciousness. Consciousness is the experience of reality
Yeah.
when it perceives itself,
Yeah.
because reality is ultimately experience. But in its phenomenal perception aspect,
Yeah.
awareness is simply, the phenomenal perception aspect is simply one of the attributes of reality.
Hmm.
Other attributes of reality, such as creation or happiness or beauty, etc., are not part of the perception, of the phenomenal perception
Yeah.
as of attribute of reality.
And are you also saying, or are you therefore saying that a noumenal exploration of experience, which is the same thing, I guess, experience and the noumenal, that also leaves open both possibilities, or doesn't answer? In other words, you're left with the same 50-50?
Yeah, because these questions belong to a level, to a relative level. They belong
Yeah.
to the dream, as you were mentioning earlier. So
Yeah.
who cares?
Yeah. Yeah.
Ultimately, the answer to that is who cares?
Yeah.
So you see, I am not trying to defend the realist view versus the idealist view.
Yeah.
People misunderstand what I say in this regard. I
Yeah.
am trying to liberate, to show that both these views are partisan views.
But when you say when someone says consciousness only model, that's also in some ways a mental construct. If you're not left
Or
with not left
the
not left.
expression, the expression of it is a concept,
Yeah. Yeah.
but it refers to the experience of awareness, reality.
Yeah.
In other words, when we know that there is awareness, we know that awareness is real. We cannot separate the experience of awareness and the experience of its reality.
Hmm. Yeah.
Whereas we can separate the experience of the mind from the experience of its reality.
Hmm.
Just as we can separate the experience of the world from the experience of its reality.
Yeah.
Because we experience the world through the mind. And since we can separate the experience of the mind, which is made of perceptions, from the experience of their reality, awareness,
Hmm.
we can have we cannot have the perception without awareness. We can have awareness without the perceptions.
Yeah.
So awareness is really the experience of the reality.
Yeah.
And so If we go to the intuition or the realization that there is only one reality,
Yeah.
then we close the circle. So really, the fundamental experience is that the reality of our human experience and the reality of the universe are the same.
Yeah.
The reality of our human experience in Sanskrit is Atman, right?
Yeah.
And the reality, the absolute reality of the universe is Brahman. So we close the circle when we reach the conclusion, Atman is Brahman.
Yeah. Yeah.
So to reach this conclusion, we have first to understand that the reality of our human experience is what we call awareness. That is not sufficient because there could be more than one reality.
Yeah.
But then if there is only one reality, then the circle closes. Everything comes to its fulfillment in that sense that if there is only one reality, my reality, which I experience as awareness,
Yeah.
is also the reality of this universe. At the
Yeah.
center of my being as a human being, I find the center of the universe.
Yeah. Yeah. Huh. Well, thank you very much, Francis. I appreciate that.
Hey, Francis, Hebrews.
Yes, Bruce.
So after our talk yesterday, and now that I'm listening to you again over this idealism and realism, so the expression "I am the ocean or the universe in a grain of sand" is the explanation of our human experience. Then
I didn't catch the last part of your sentence.
the statement "I am an ocean in a drop," or "I am the universe in a grain of sand." Does that relate to our human experience? Because the reason I'm telling you this is, although this is a mental higher reasoning, whatever you want to call it, the I at some point gets lost in the amness. So there's no focality, there's no centrality to anything. But yet I can't help since yesterday that you revealed some deep things to me, and yes, I see myself everywhere. I hear myself. The changeless I sees itself everywhere, around, behind, back, up, and down. But yet, this came to me but then I am a universe in a grain of sand. So this is clearly a limitation, or is this a human experience?
I'm sorry, I don't see. I have to excuse myself for 2 minutes, so that will give you the opportunity to rephrase your question.
Okay.
Yes, sorry about that. So Piers.
That's okay. I'm sorry. Yes. So when I contemplate and I sit and I look out countless number of leaves, unlimited space, stars, everything is indeed the changeless I experiencing itself. Yet I can't help but to see this immensity, yet in a drop of an ocean, if you will, see the endless ocean in a drop. That feels wrong, though, does it? Is it not?
Well, when you see the street and all of that, you don't see the endless ocean. You
I see
see,
myself. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
you see only a small part of the endless ocean in the very, very tiny drop of a human mind.
Okay, so that goes back to limiting myself to the senses, to the human senses that I perceive. Is that right?
You don't see all of you. You don't see all of you. You see only a very tiny part of this universe through the very, very tiny human mind.
No. When I say I see, I was referring to truly the changeless I looking out, realizing the centrality. I mean, this singularity that creates and perceives simultaneously.
Mhm. At the moment of perception, it sees itself as this perception,
Correct.
but to see itself as this perception is not the same as seeing all of itself.
Right. To see all of itself. Again, it goes back to the ocean and the waves. Ocean is the ocean, the waves are what comes and goes, which are the perceptions, right?
Yeah,
I'm going
it's
back to that point that I made yesterday, that you said you're trying to make an object out of objectless state mind, which I totally understood what you said. And I don't know if this is the same feel. Doesn't feel the same thing though. No, it doesn't. It's just
that which is infinite is that
cannot
which
know the
sees.
point. Yeah, go ahead.
That which is infinite is that which sees, the reality that sees. That which is seen through the prism or through the lens, let's put it this, through the lens of the human mind is only a tiny fraction of what is visible. And in addition to what is visible, there is that which is invisible.
You see how I don't want how it just to be for me talking and thinking about perceptions just for some reason it's a turn off. I don't know why. I can't. I mean, I sat yesterday for hours under the clear sky, looking at everything and then perceiving. And then really the only pull and interest was to go within and not, again, not try to make a state out of it or desire it. Just sort of, you just go inside yourself. You don't need to come out. And you said it yesterday, I think, to me, as long as it's effortless, that's okay. And I suppose that's what I'm trying to get at again.
Absolutely.
But then you told me yesterday that you're trying to make something up, like, I don't know, that guy from India, what's his name? You said you're trying to make something out of a desire or something, I can't remember.
Yes, you know, it's very hard to revisit the past.
Well, let me tell you this. You may be mad at me, but to this day, since I've met you in your retreat, I am yet to go and review any of your dialogues with me. If I get it when you're talking, that's it. I don't go back and re-listen.
Good. So I think that's I mean, if we are naturally drawn within, by all means, why wouldn't we? Why would we do otherwise? And if we are drawn without, why would we do otherwise? Because both within and without is the same reality. So who cares?
Yes, good. So even when I go without, all I see is the same reality. And of course, I is not the limited I, the changeless I.
That which sees is always a changeless I.
Thank you. And
that
and
which
then
is always unlimited. That which is seen through the lens of the mind is extremely limited.
Okay. Then is there not a place where you could at least say that the amness is so immense that even the I will be lost in it? Again, I am is more. I don't know how to put it.
You know, then we are becoming Clintonian here. It depends on the meaning of what is, you know, and when we say I am, if you make a distinction between I and am,
well, the reason I ask you this is I came across a poem from Rumi and actually discussed it with Luciana, and we both really agreed that it really is very immense. And that was, he says to the beloved, I don't know where I end and where you begin. So when I go and contemplate that, then the I goes away and it's just this being. It's just immensity, this immense being. And it is this I that somehow generates a...
That's the beauty of poetry, you see. It is true poetry. It's so beautiful, yes, because true poetry takes you there in no time, you know, to this place of understanding.
And that one verse took both me and Luciana where we wanted to be. Yeah,
it's so beautiful, yes. And but if you notice the way it happens in poetry and mystic poetry, is that it's always the same process in which it starts from the hypothesis of separation.
Yes.
Then annihilates annihilates the separation.
Isn't that what we do here as I wanting to be the real I? I mean, we have to acknowledge to be in ignorance before we start asking the self-inquiry question. We have to choose to be in ignorance.
Well, not necessarily. Not necessarily, because we may be asking for clarification, although we are not in ignorance, but we must be asking for clarification how the deep realization of our true nature, what are the implication of that glimpse on specific beliefs we have, or ways of perceiving we have. You see?
Yes, yes, I see that.
So then it doesn't. This kind of question doesn't come from ignorance. For instance, someone may have had maybe a very serious truth lover and be a very beautiful person and be very happy with their life and satisfied, and still kind of have in their mind this idealist vision of non-duality.
Mm-hmm.
So they would come to Francis and say, Francis, explain yourself. What do you mean when you say that idealism is a form of religion?
Yes.
They may understand or not understand my explanation. It's a little philosophical. It's a little, if they understand, they will agree. If they don't, I would tell them, don't worry. You are already free. You are already,
Free, yes.
Your central understanding is sufficient to eliminate your worries.
Yes, indeed. Thank you, Francis.
Francis, may I ask a quick question?
Yes, Melissa.
I appreciate the discussion this morning. I appreciate all of your discussions. They're amazing and wonderful, and I thank you very deeply. So the discussion this morning, after the first comments about how when you speak to the reality that is hearing and understanding, rather than just to the apparent body mind. So my initially I had some question about that, but I think I understand that what you're saying then is you are speaking to the the infinite reality consciousness that is localizing as an apparent body mind, because that's all that the apparent body mind ever is. Is that correct?
It is not localizing. It perceives through.
Oh, okay. Localizing is one of the terms that sometimes I hear Rupert's using that term, or others use that term.
I don't know which terms others use. I'm not okay. Because for me to localize means to be within.
Oh, I see. Okay, all right. You're using that differently. Oh, okay.
To localize means to be local, right? And local where? If I localize as the body mind, it means I localize in the body mind. Right?
Yes, right. So I think people struggle with trying to find a word or a phrase, a pointer to how it is. And then I guess we don't know. We're only hypothesizing here. We're inferring. We're trying to understand how it is that how the infinite can perceive the apparent finite. I guess, of course, the reality is that it's never finite. None of it is ever finite. It's all the infinite appearing to the infinite.
Yeah.
But I guess I get sometimes a little bit distracted or confused when that discussion begins to come up, whether I'm reading it or watching a YouTube video
But
about.
what is the problem if we make the statement that the infinite can perceive the finite, however, the finite cannot perceive the infinite?
No, of course, there's no problem in that. I guess where I get a little confused is what we're even referring to when we speak of the finite. I guess I'm starting to feel that there is no such thing in a way that's part of kind of the flat earth uh, thinking that never existed, that never had a being and never could. So I guess finite is starting to lose its meaning.
Well, we have to make a distinction, if we want, between our perceptions and that which is perceived.
Okay. Yes.
That which is perceived through perceptions is infinite. But the perceptions are finite. Each perception is finite.
Okay.
So the human mind has finite perceptions of the infinite.
Okay. All right. I see that. Thank you.
It has always, the human mind is the limiting filter
Yes.
through which the infinite perceives itself. Whether the infinite has other ways to perceive itself phenomenally or not, we need to leave that open.
Right.
However, we know that the infinite perceives itself nominally.
Yes.
In its infinity.
Yes. Yes. Thank you. Yeah. I could get into a conundrum. I think just the words can have to be very careful how I put the words together. Otherwise, it can lead me astray sometimes. So the words must be put together correctly. So when you say that that there's a differentiation between awareness and its perceiving function, and that the perceiving function is dependent on a perceiver body mind.
No.
No, you did not say that? Okay.
The perceiving function of awareness is not dependent on anything.
Well, okay. Oh, I said, all right, the function is not dependent. but in order to perceive, then it's dependent on a body mind to do the perceiving.
How do we know that? No. It is dependent upon a human body mind to perceive as a human body mind perceives. It is dependent upon an ant mind to perceive
Right.
as an ant perceives. It is dependent upon an extraterrestrial mind to perceive as an extraterrestrial perceives. It is dependent upon an angel mind to perceive as an angel perceives. And it is dependent upon God's mind to perceive as God's perceives.
Okay. All right. So I guess when I was using the word body mind, I didn't necessarily mean human. I guess it's some kind of, we're saying that it's dependent on some kind of perceiver apparatus of some sort.
I mean, the perceiver apparatus itself, whether the perceiver apparatus exists independently from the perception, is also an issue that cannot be decided, just as the one about, the existence of the mountain independently from the human perceivers of the mind, of the mountain.
Okay. All right. I'll ponder that further.
Read the things that I have put here on the text that I have put. It should clarify a lot of those questions.
Yes. Okay. And then you also just said that, and correct me if I'm wrong, that what is seen through the lens of the body mind, or the human body mind in this instance, is of course very limited, but the reality that is doing the seeing is infinite.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. So,
the reality, therefore, that's our reality.
yes.
Right? Because we are the one doing the seeing. So as the seer, we are infinite. As the seer, we are the infinite.
Yes.
As the seer, we are the infinite reality.
Yes.
So the real seer is the infinite reality. The real seer is our real self, right?
Yes.
Because we say, I see.
Yes.
The real understander is our real self.
So it's really coming to a re-identification of all of this is really pointing to coming to realize it's a radical reorganizing of our entire, as we reorganize our sense of I, everything, it changes everything.
Yes. And the beauty of this is the following, that the previous perspective we had on ourselves, on life, etc., was inadequate.
Right.
It was forced. It's like when you receive something you have ordered on Amazon, which comes in various parts, and there are parts that are similar, and you vaguely read the manual and just say, okay, put this part together with that one like that. And you realize it doesn't work. So you try all kinds of ways, you know. And if you force your way, since it's plastic, often it breaks.
It breaks, yes.
Right? So,
yes.
and our view of the world, it's just because we had the wrong view of how things fit together.
Yes,
You know?
yes.
So we returned the part, the thing to Amazon, said that it didn't work. And they say, okay, we send you a new one. You receive the new one, then you read more carefully the manual.
Yes.
Oh, gee, I made this mistake. So then you take the other part and you put it and click.
Yes,
You know,
and it all,
click,
yes,
it
it all
works
fits.
beautifully, you know. So that's this new part, you know, this new way of putting things together. It clicks. You don't have to force anything into anything, meaning it's effortless. If it requires this effort, be careful because the plastic will break.
Yes, yes. So just this last little portion here, and this is just from my imagination. Maybe it's not from my understanding, but just from imagination. I wonder if maybe, you know, perhaps for in the quote unquote past, that what was humanity, although I no longer you know believe any of that, but whatever it was that preceded, there was a point at which we could function adequately with an understanding that was very faulty. We could make our way, you know, in a very limited sense of life. But we've reached a point now where we are, where the ability to live in whatever this appearance of our lives is, has become so much deeper, so much fuller and deeper, that we must have a fuller and deeper understanding in order to make our way.
When you say we, do you are you referring to mankind at large?
I guess I am. Yes, I guess I'm referring to.
I'm not sure we are really as mankind evolving in the right direction. I'm not sure about that.
Okay, all right.
That's a different story, and I am agnostic on that one.
Okay, all right. I'll leave that open as well. Sometimes I'm not sure either.
You know, it was like you know, in the 19th century, we were kind of certain that we were evolving towards more civilization. But then we had this First World War that was a terrible massacre of people for just the ego of a few aristocrats.
Yes.
And then we thought, okay, that's the end. No more of that. No more. We love music, philosophy, culture, and so on. We are a civilized nation. And then we had the Shoah. So I mean, it's.
Yes, I see. Yes, those are questions that are very open to interpretation. But what I wonder is that perhaps as science now is going into the realm of the Planck, at the Planck level, as well as into the relativistic level of wide open space, that as we're penetrating in that way, that is requiring a fuller and deeper understanding of our true nature, the nature of the observer, because what we are attempting to observe is so much fuller and deeper. Does that make any sense?
I'm not sure that there was a moment when I was innocent and I thought that having discovered this extraordinary non-duality, I thought that everybody who was versed in mathematics and physics would acknowledge and understand that this philosophy was the best background epistemology for scientists. I discovered no. There were people who had they were very smart scientists and mathematicians, but they were stubborn Catholics. And they would carry all this baggage of belief systems at odds with their scientific mind. They were kind of schizophrenic in their mind.
Yes. Well, all right. Well, that I guess we'll just have to see how that sorts itself out. How infinite awareness.
I have doubts when, as I said the other day, when I looked at movies in the 50s and 40s, how innocent people were, and how refreshing it was. And now we see only, depraved. I mean, and what the movies are telling us, they are just the reflection in the mirror of humanity.
Yes.
You see, and perhaps freedom is beautiful, and the question that arises is, we have to deserve it.
Yes.
Do we deserve as a nation or as humanity?
Yes.
The freedom that the U.S. Constitution has bestowed upon us.
Absolutely. As Ben Franklin said at the signing of the Constitution, yes, you will have a republic if you can keep it. Yes. So freedom also entails responsibility, and that still remains for us to find our way. Thank you very much, Francis.
Okay, thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you, Francis.